Anytime you find yourself working on a complex Adobe Illustrator document, you run a risk. And the risk is you might be designing a document that is too complex to print. I'm talking mostly about press operations, not inkjets or lasers. Presses have to do something to an image. They have to rip the whole document in one fell swoop. Now, ripping, RIP, stands for Raster Image Processor. What a rip does is it converts all the math of your image, all those anchor points, all that math that makes the shape, into the screen of the press. And again, like I said, it's got to do the whole document, not one line at a time. If the rip doesn't have enough memory, it can lock the rip before it gets done. Press operator's not going to take that chance because that can take an hour or longer to undo, and they don't need to lose that amount of time. So let's say our document's complicated. Our press operator calls us up and she says, I can't print this, it's too complicated. So, you hang up and you think, well, okay, can't change the world. But how do I make an Adobe Illustrator vector object less complicated so it'll print and still look the same? Convert it to pixels. Rasterize the document. When you convert it to paint, it's less complex and it'll work. You want to make sure that the thing is exactly as big as you want it, because once we convert it to paint, it becomes resolution dependent. You don't want to change it again. Also, I would strongly recommend that you make a copy, because once you convert this to paint, it's like a Photoshop document. You want your original vector, make a copy, rasterize the copy. With that said, make sure you like it in terms of all the fills and strokes and the size is exactly what you want it to be. When you've got all that done, I'm going to show you two areas. First, go up to the word effect and go down to document raster effect settings. That's not where we need to be, but I want to show you something because it's going to reference it in the rasterize dialog box. And that's these numbers right here. We set these up when we're doing effects. Let's go into now effect rasterize. In rasterize, the color model would be CMYK if you're going to press, obviously. So we're in a CMYK document. Screen resolution would be something around this. However, most press operators have a precise resolution that's based on the math of their line screen of the press. And so it might be actually like 244. If you have a precise number from your operator, then you would click Other and type it in here. The reason I showed you those options before we got here is you can choose to use the document raster effects resolution. We don't. That's on 72. We're going to use 300. Do you want your background white or transparent? Probably transparent. Your options for anti-aliasing, you've got none. You want to use none if you're working with small text below, say, 12 point, because if you do type optimize hinted, it actually changes the text enough. It's going to rasterize and anti-alias it just a bit, and if it's really small, might make it harder to read. Art optimize would be the one I would use if all we've got is the cat, because the cat basically is an art piece in what's called super sampling. It's going to convert the image into the pixels based on the resolution we chose, and it's going to anti-alias it just a little bit to make it look smooth. So we like to do that. We want to do that. We can create a clipping mask for it if we want to, and we can add some space around it to give it a little room. Click OK. What you're doing when you click OK is you're converting it into pixels. I don't do this unless I have to, but if I have to, because of complexity to press, I know where to go. It's rasterize in the effect menu.